So UFC 324 just took place, and I do believe that the main event was everything that the fans needed it to be, that Paramount Plus needed it to be, that the UFC needed it to be, and what I needed it to be. Justin Gaethje defeats Paddy Pimblett over 5 rounds. On my personal scorecard, I had Gaethje winning 3 rounds and Pimblett winning 2 rounds, but the judges scored 4-1 2 times and 3-2 one time as well, so I'll talk about that just kind of a bit later on. But in regards to this fight, I feel like both guys just decided that they were going to abandon striking defense and technique in most circumstances altogether, and they just kind of went for it. I feel like this was a pretty vintage Justin Gaethje performance. Now, I'm not going to say it was a prime Justin Gaethje performance because he did look pretty bad, in my opinion, a little bit over the hill, but it was a vintage performance in the way that he was doing the fight. He was just coming forward, had no regard for his own safety. Paddy Pimblett was taking him, and he just kept coming forward, and he just kept throwing overhands, throwing himself off balance with overhands, throwing himself off balance with leg kicks as well. Just kind of doing a lot of really funny things in the cage, I will be honest with you. And Paddy Pimblett was kind of matching the fire as well. I would say out of the two, Pimblett probably had like the more reserved approach, which is interesting because we did see a very, very clean performance out of him against Michael Chandler. But when Pimblett had his moments, he really found success. He threw a lot of combinations early in the fight, had a massive round 3. On my scorecard, he round 1, round 5, which is interesting because I have always had concern over Paddy Pimblett's cardio, and I do think that that concern has kind of been washed away, but he did still kind of struggle to keep up the pace that he was trying to early on throughout the fight. But I do think that nonetheless, Paddy Pimblett's cardio allegations that I have had are gone. However, the chin in the air, the striking defense, it's never been more real. It's never been more prevalent. And I did obviously pick Justin Gaethje to win this fight. However, I do also believe at the same time, despite me picking Gaethje to win, I did pick him to win with a very technical boxing masterclass. And I know that you can't really put Gaethje and technique in one sort of sentence, but that is what I did believe was going to happen. I thought that Gaethje's striking technique was going to be far superior to Paddy Pimblett's, which it was in moments, but in the most part, as I said, Gaethje was just throwing himself around that octagon, and he was landing some really, really big shots. The Scousers don't get knocked out slogan that Paddy Pimblett's been running with is still very alive and well, taking a book out of Luke Riley's sort of asset of fights, because we've seen Luke Riley get knocked down many, many times and keep going. We saw Paddy Pimblett get knocked down in this fight. I wasn't really counting it was that many times, but I'm pretty sure probably officially got knocked down maybe 3, maybe 4 times, but he ate really big shots from Gaethje throughout this entire fight. I would almost say maybe 6 strikes that would knock out many, many opponents of Gaethje's in the past. We saw Paddy Pimblett just eat them and keep going. He did back up in moments because of it, but at the end of the day, he just got hit by a bomb by Justin Gaethje. It was a really fun fight, though. I really enjoyed it. Was the fight of the night. Potential fight of the year contender early on as well. And as I did say, it was what the UFC needed for this Paramount card, because this is their first card on Paramount Plus, and I think that they needed to deliver. They didn't necessarily need to deliver a really solid product, but they did need to deliver something that was going to kind of make Paramount Plus, I guess, believe that what they had invested in was going to be legit. And also, just kind of talk about this too, just a little bit round by round. Gaethje started pretty strong. I thought dropped Pimblett very early on with an uppercut in the clinch. Hurt him with the right hand first. Once again, dirty boxing in the clinch. And then from there on out, Gaethje kind of rode that momentum into round 2. I think Paddy Pimblett had a lot of success with combinations in round 2, but Gaethje was just hitting him too hard. Was still knocking him down. Towards the end of the round as well, Gaethje was landing ground and pound. And this is where I thought that Gaethje might have broken his hand. And because Gaethje was ground and pounding Pimblett, but he missed a couple times, and he just punched the floor of the octagon really, really hard on a couple of occasions. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's just broken his hand punching the floor. And I thought that might have been the case in round 3. Even the commentary started to bring it up, which was just awful throughout the whole card. But I don't think there's ever going to be a card which I'll never complain about the commentary. So, I mean, what's the point at this point? But in regards to that, they did bring up that Gaethje may have broken his hand. He did start to slow down a lot in round 3. Stopped throwing right hands quite a bit as well, which is something that returned in round 4 magically, but started to throw right hands left, and when he did start to wince a bit too, so it was quite an interesting sort of change for Gaethje in that fight, and Pimblett started to really take over in the striking. Had a pretty dominant round 3, I thought. Had Gaethje hurt on multiple occasions in round 3 as well, but just was never able to officially really knock him down or put him in such a compromised position that Pimblett could maybe find a finish. And then in round 4, Gaethje comes back, clearly takes round 4, in my opinion, just landed the more impactful shots, had Pimblett on ice a few times again in round 4, and once again, magically that big right hand, it returned. And then round 5 arrived, and Gaethje and Pimblett both started to initiate a bit of wrestling. In this round, both guys are clearly very tired as well at this point. But in my opinion, in my scorecard, Pimblett won the 5th round. I did score round 5 for Pimblett, but I can see the argument for Gaethje, but it's one of those things where it doesn't really matter because I think everyone can unanimously agree that Gaethje wins round 1, 2, and 4. So it is what it is. Gaethje wins at least 3 rounds on everyone's scorecard. It was a great fight. One of the better fights of the card, with the best fight on the card. One of the better fights of the year so far is what I was going to say, but it doesn't matter. It was the only fight of the year. Fight card of the year. I do think, though, one thing that ruined it for me was, as I did say, this wasn't a very high-level display of top 5 lightweights fighting for a championship because it was really sloppy from both guys. Not very good striking technique displayed from both guys. Not very good defense displayed by both guys either. And Ilia Topuria, when he does return against Justin Gaethje, I have to pick Ilia Topuria to knock him out within 2 rounds. I just cannot see Gaethje or even Pimblett beating Topuria, especially after that performance as well. Now, Pimblett had a really good performance against Chandler, and then he went out there against Gaethje. I would still say it was a good performance. He did prove me wrong in some ways, proved me very, very right in many others as well, but I do think that, I think Gaethje just gets knocked out by Topuria. I think Pimblett gets knocked out by Topuria. I don't really know what else to say. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It was a great fight. I think it was what the UFC needed, especially to start off the year of 2026.